Now today's job, I want to backmask this, get this ready for, well, we'll hope the first coat of primer. But the problem is we're in a day that it's raining half the time and snowing the other half. So we're going to have to wait to actually do the spraying, but I can get it prepped up in the meantime. And in the meantime, the good news is Karen's baking cookies, so what a day. Backmasking and road testing cookies. I put a little bolt with the same diameter, where is it now? Same diameter as the valve so that we don't get paint underneath the valve. I need to backmask both sides of this, and then I want to backmask inside in the rim here. And it's just from, you know, personal, I don't want to get paint in there for if I don't have to. And this has been rough sanded now, so then I'll do a little detail sanding on it, find with my bare hands, find any rough spots, just sand it by hand if I did miss anything, because the other day when I was doing this with tools, you always miss a couple little spots. But by rubbing your hand on it, you can find any spot that needs a little extra work. Now in this detailing part of this is one of the tools that's really handy. What I found out is it's really not real good for removing paint, but once you have the paint off, or the powder coating, whatever this is, you can do a nice, what happens, this tip is soft, so what it allows you to do is getting all these edges and corners. I just wanted to demo that. Very handy. Now, you might be thinking, and I'm sure you're right about this, well, why would you even bother doing this? Well, yeah, that's, when I watch bitchin' rides, I wonder, well, why do they even bother doing this or this or this? But anyway, the thing is, if you don't want to do this to the highest possible level, there's really no point doing it. Then you may as well just take the old spray can and paint the chain and everything. But what my goal is when I'm done, and it's not gonna be apparent until I'm actually finished with this, is to have these spokes all look like, and this is rough and it's scratched because I want that primer that I put on that first coat to get a good bite. If the factory were to do this, these wheels would just be off the chart expensive, and as it is, I guess we should just quit while we're ahead here. But what they do that's nice, they do the easy part. They run a tool in here, make it real nice and polished. But to do this hand, when this is a casting, to get all these casting marks out, and actually all we're really doing here is getting the casting marks out, just like on the Kawasaki wheels. And when it's done, to me, it has that look that I personally like. Not everybody likes it. It's okay. And I don't like the look of chrome. If I could send these wheels out and have them chrome plated, I've seen bikes with chrome wheels that polished aluminum looks awesome. Chrome, it starts to look, I don't know, not like what I want. Anyway, but it'll be a couple hours here. What I can't do with this little Porter cable machine, then I'll do by hand, and I have my other little special tool, the old painting stick with a little piece of sandpaper on it. But the more detailing I put in now, it'll just make sanding the primer out that much easier. Now, in the course of detailing out this wheel, both by hand and with this machine, this is one of the things I wanted to try to show that you can do. Now the reason for doing that is because this is going to be one of the surfaces we're going to see reflecting, and I want to have that as smooth, all these transitions as smooth as possible. We're actually, in a very small way, changing the shape of the wheel somewhat, but to have these transitions, and you'll see when the clear is on and it's buffed out, that final transition, when that wheel is turning, it's going to look beautiful. Now, it's always at the very end of this that when I get done detailing his parts, and I'm happy. The problem is I'm never happy. And I want to spend a little more time. And then what happened? Karen calls me up to dinner or lunch or something. So I've got to work around a lot of little parameters here. But the final thing, to sand it, I'm not sure we're going to be able to get this primed in the next day or so, because it's been raining and slushing and snowing and the wind is blowing, and I really would like to get this primed. But what it does, though, it works to my advantage, is then I'm not in a, if it were a bright sunny day and no wind was blowing, I'd be rushing. And that's why I never like to do this kind of work in the summer. In the winter, oh yeah, it's going to snow tomorrow, rain or whatever. And I'm not prone to rush the work. And it just, kind of thing, it just takes time. But once you get these final little detail sandings, and anywhere I see a little spot that, usually, see, here's another good trick. This is a trick I haven't shown in a while. So you have these rolls of sticky back sandpaper, and boy, sometimes you just find a spot like right in here where they're just perfect. But this is the kind of thing now. I've had this bike since it was new. It's 7 years old now. I've had a lot of fun with it, had a lot of good rides. I really like it. I've got it custom tuned to my fat rear end and to my wimpy shoulders and whatever. But now, I sure wouldn't want to trade this bike in for a new one, because I've got it so set for me. Once I get it set for, it took 7 years, in fact, it took 6 years. And changing a lot of things till I was comfortable with it, and I'm comfortable with it now. So, again, these you can just peel, or you can take some off and put some on. They are so handy to have. And when this wheel is done, and if you park it next to a standard bike with a standard wheel, and I know the reason these things are all flat black in the middle, because nobody wants to do this work, but boy, when it's done, does it stand out in the crowd. When we did the wheels for Glenn's Kawasaki, I remember thinking, boy, those wheels are going to make the bike, and they did. And the gold wheels on his Ducati, another one. As you're doing this work, you always think, oh my God, this is taking forever. But then when it's done, you're so glad you didn't skip any steps. And I think right now, what I'm going to do is get ready to wipe this down with Prep-Sol and just put it aside to dry for that sometime when we can get some self-etching primer on it. And I think that really is, that's really come a long way in the last few days. Now, as we come up on the end of this day, there's only one problem with today. It's the problem is it's still raining or slushing or something out there. So we're going to just live to fight another day. But what I thought I'd do, I'd get this all prepped up, get all the Prep-Sol on it, get as much of this loose stuff off. So what'll happen is when we do get a day that it's ready to go, we'll be ready for that first coat of primer. And there's a real satisfaction into getting it detailed out like this. Doesn't look it on the video, I'm sure. It looks crude, but what happens, and it's so important at this point, is there has to be a tooth. Paint bonds to metal in two ways. There's a chemical adhesion at a molecular level, and that's one. But there's a mechanical bond where the scratches in the paint flows into the scratches. And that's how it gets a tooth. And I think that has the perfect tooth. And just before I quit, I just made sure that it didn't stop raining, and it didn't. It's terrible out there. But anyway, Karen's upstairs baking cookies, and just the whole house is starting to smell like cookies again for about the 10th day in a row. And I'm getting hungry for a cookie, to be honest. This is hard work. You need cookies to do this kind of work. So while I was busy sanding and grinding and whatever, these wonderful, oh, the smell of these gingerbread cookies. Now our next project, of course, is going to be when the baby's here tomorrow or the next day. We're going to decorate the gingerbread cookies, but this is the dough that's left over. I use that one to make myself a cookie. That's the one I'm going to have right after supper, if Karen doesn't catch me. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. We will wait for a better day, and thanks for watching. We're ready to prime that wheel.